That's a lot of excitement for you.
Yes, it's awesome. It's just so great to be here.
Faça um barulho pra Lana,
Thank you. Obrigada.
I'm going to try to say it in Portuguese, this expression, which is make some noise. Yeah? Faça barulho.
Faça barulho? It always sounds better when everyone's screaming because, you know, if I messed it up, you couldn't hear.
No, but I've got to say, your accent was perfect, wasn't it? Spot on.
Obrigada. That's something I do know.
So, comfortable, Lana? We can start.
Yeah, let's start.
Here.
Let's
That's
start.
perfect. So, let's start with Once Upon a Time, yeah?
Woo!
I remember watching Once Upon a Time for the first time and thinking that the premise was so fresh. I had seen it on comics, on fables, but I don't remember ever seeing it before on TV series or film. That idea of mixing the fairy tale characters and juxtaposing them with their real-world counterparts. What do you think? What did you think of this premise when you first got in touch with the series and when you first got cast?
Well, I thought it was extremely unique. I've never read a script like the pilot of Once Upon a Time. It came to me, I originally auditioned for a different show, and that casting director, after seeing me perform for a completely different show, said, "Oh my God, I think you would be perfect for this new show called Once Upon a Time to play the evil queen." And I was like, oh. My first audition was for this doctor. So I was like, okay, I'm not sure what you saw, but she said, "You're a wonderful storyteller." And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I read the script, and I fell in love with the script immediately, fell in love with Regina immediately.
I think they love her too.
Yeah, what's not to love? She's so, full of so many layers of everything delicious and fun and complex and far out, you know. She's a very well-rounded character.
And also, she starts out as an evil queen, but she progresses into something completely different and even a hero. How was it for you to, throughout the years, walk that walk with Regina? How was that?
It was thrilling and exciting, and you know, it's very rare that you get to work on a show that allows you to play so many different levels of a character. And with Regina, I was always excited to see what was coming. You know, she was so unpredictable, and the writers were very clever to write her that way. And so for me, portraying her kept me very interested, very invested in her, as we saw all those years. And I loved it. I knew that Once Upon a Time, Regina is going to be hands down one of the best roles of my career.
And did she start to feel like family to you? Because there were some years of you playing her, so much time playing her, in so many seasons. I mean, what relationship do you develop with a character like that you spend so much time with?
Well, she sort of becomes you on some level, because you're telling someone else's story more than living your own story. The hours on a set vary from anywhere from 14 to 16 and a half hours a day. So when you're there 5 days a week for 7 years, 9 months out of every year, your life is very shortly experienced. You know, it's like when you're not filming, you're like, oh my God, there's so many things I have to catch up on, and you know, things fall behind, and you know, it just gets, she takes over.
Yeah.
And so it took me a long time to, when the show was done, to kind of find myself again, because I spent more time being her than Lana, if that makes sense.
And when you learned in 2018 that the series was coming to an end, I mean, how was that? I don't know if I can call it mourning process.
Oh,
for
it was
you.
awful. It sucks. Especially because I was directing.
Yeah, because you directed on season 7.
Yes, but
Yeah, forward to that.
but you know, the thrill of getting the opportunity to direct an episode, I was like, you know, we were going, and then the last night at like 1 a.m, we were wrapping, and I had a missed call from Adam and Eddie calling me at 11 o'clock at night. And then they texted and said, give us a call when you can tomorrow. And I just knew. I was like, man, I went from, I'm done with my episode, yes, what a success, to the show's been canceled. I'm like, what? I mean, the levels of emotion, the highs and lows that you experience being in this industry are completely insane. And you really have to develop thick skin, you know, and a strong spine to really get through it, because there's so many letdowns, more than there are wins. And it's just the nature of the business. But at the end, I was very grateful, because many actors just even want a shot at being on a television show, let alone being on a show that goes 7 years. So I'm very proud of what we were able to accomplish over those years.
Do you feel that Regina is the character that you're most recognized for? Because of course you have a career with a lot of other characters. But do you feel that on the street, everywhere, when people talk to you, they mostly talk about Regina?
Yes, out of all of my shows, and I've had 8, for people that are like, oh, where did you come from? I've been around, I'm old. But, thank you. But, yes, the reason is because a lot of my previous shows, they didn't last as long, you know, 13 episodes here and there. Or I joined an established show, like I was on 24, I was on, you know, Spin City. These were shows that were already on the air, and I came in to fill a spot for like a year or 6 months or something like that. But Once Upon a Time put me in a whole different level in my career, and this was new for me. And when I started seeing the impact this show had globally, like being here and going to conventions and seeing how Regina in particular really touched so many people's hearts, it became a very different thing for me. I started to really treasure what I had.
And what were people's initial reactions? Because in the beginning, you were really mean, so...
By the way, in the beginning, I think I was still really mean as Lana. Because when you're playing a role that's like this, I mean, the second episode, I kill my father. I mean, it's like, oh my God, oh my God. I remember when that came out, and then the whole second episode was like Regina's story, and I thought, oh my, what is this person I'm playing? This is crazy. And, it wasn't this traditional evil queen Snow White dynamic. It was about revenge. It wasn't about wanting beauty or wanting to hold on to her beauty. It was about betrayal, and it was about, hurting someone who hurt you and punishing them for what they've done to you, and getting into that mentality and getting into that sort of DNA, because I had to. And it kind of messed with me, I will say. I became a recluse, meaning I was very much in my cave. I think Robert Carlyle and I, because he played Rumple, we both were the villains, so we we didn't really hang out a lot with people. We kind of stayed.
So the bad guys were on one side and the good guys on the other?
Yeah, it was very much like this for a long time, for years.
You were outcast.
It was, yeah, I was. For at least a few years.
Oh my God.
And it was very troubling, you know, and it was just because I was so focused. I wasn't going out having drinks at the bars and doing things because I couldn't. I had to focus on Regina. So it was, yeah, I think I was very misunderstood for a really long time.
Okay. But you didn't get like hate messages or anything, right? You want to tell us about one of them? No? Let's leave that for another place. Okay. Throughout the seasons, Once Upon a Time kept adding more and more fairy tale characters, and even some that were not written in fairy tales but came from the Disney movies, because of course Once Upon a Time was ABC. Is there a character, a fairy tale character or a Disney film character that you would have liked to have seen on the show that hasn't been there?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me that question, and it's always a hard one for me, probably because I didn't watch a lot of Disney movies. I didn't see them all, you know. I feel like I saw some of the older ones when I was younger, but I was never a princess girl. Okay, I'm just not. And I was more into like Greek mythology and things like this. I was into sirens, but like real mermaids, and I did enjoy Little Mermaid. I did enjoy Dumbo. You know, it's nostalgic for me because I shared it with my dad. So I liked Aladdin and stuff like this, but I wasn't like, if you said, have you seen, I don't know the names of all of them. Lion King, yes, I've seen Lion King. Beauty and the Beast, yes, I did see that one. So it was, you know, older. So like in the 90s is when Disney really changed. Like the animation was different, you know, and there were a handful of movies that we all saw. But everything past that, I became a badass teenager, you know, like whatever, I'm gonna stay home, I'm going out, I'm gonna hang out with my friends. I wasn't watching Disney. You know, I was watching other movies, like scary movies and things like this. So I always said if I were to choose anyone, it would be really interesting to see a battle between Freddy Krueger and Evil Queen.
I would love that.
You know, something like that. Or I always said, like, you know, maybe Darth Vader or, you know, something like.
Well, he's Disney now. So.
Yeah, so the Disney characters are hard for me to. I did love Ursula, but I got to play her on some level. And that was a lot of fun for me. I think the writers were very accommodating. They knew my interests. And so when they learned that I loved Ursula, they let me play her, even if it was pretending. And then they knew that I loved Hansel and Gretel, and that was then the episode I got to direct. They know how much I love Rebecca Mader. She's our Wicked Witch, and they gave me her final big episode. So they were very generous, the writers, very generous.
If you hadn't played the evil queen, which one of the other characters would you have liked to play?
I wouldn't have. I am not, like I said, I'm not a princess, so any of those characters are kind of boring for me.
Yeah.
The mother!
The hero characters, I mean, I know Regina became one, but I think my role was one of the best ones because I got to do both.
And so you're good with that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the wardrobe. You have all of those beautiful dresses over the top. I mean, how was it to get on set and see what you were going to wear every day?
I mean, Eduardo Castro and I had such a beautiful relationship. He's our costume designer. He designed all those beautiful ornate costumes for the Queen and for Snow, for everybody. And I think we were his, and the Wicked Witch, we were his, you know, the ones where he can really embellish and kind of go out there and really push himself and show us what he was capable of. And the process of working with him was just like nothing else because he's so, he's brilliant and he's a genius at design and knowing your body, and everything was cut to my body. So sometimes it was uncomfortable, I will say. Over the years when we realized that, oh wow, it's really cold in Canada, we started making the costumes a little bit looser so we can put a lot of layers underneath and warm these patches called hot shots that we would stick to our bodies to keep us warm. They use it for camping and such. So the costumes were out of this world. Out of this world. He deserved so many awards that sadly he was overshadowed by Game of Thrones, who, by the way, had a lot more money per episode and a lot more time. It's like 3 weeks more. It's like 3 weeks to shoot one episode for Game of Thrones, and they had millions and millions of dollars more. We had a quarter of that, and we had 8-9 days to film every episode. So what we were able to accomplish over that short amount of time was truly magic. Yeah, a lot of hard workers on our show.
I heard you say this morning in the press conference, and we can share with them, that you don't even like too much makeup or anything.
I know.
So you would have preferred to be, more comfortable on set, or are you okay with all that?
Look, I love fashion, okay? I love wearing shoes, I like getting dressed up, I love it. But I like acting barefoot, which you can't do in the middle of winter in Canada in the forest. But, unless you're Elizabeth Mitchell. As the Snow Queen, she was like, so in character. She goes, I don't wear shoes, and we're like, it's snowing. And you're gonna die, and we need you to live. So put on some Uggs or something. She was so committed. I love her. Anyway, I love being as natural as possible. In fact, a lot of the last couple of characters that I played are more bodacious, over the top, very sort of dramatic and theatrical, and there's those aspects to them. But prior to that, my career was the opposite. I played much more sort of grounded, real characters that weren't as loud and big and, didn't have these big physical gestures. They were much more still and vulnerable and expressive in a sort of, emotional way. So it's nice. I just did a movie called Scrap over the summer, and I kind of got back to that. And it was so refreshing to be just like simple again. I missed that. I was like, no, don't do any makeup. Like easy. You put too much makeup on me, and it's like I'm a total drag queen, which I love. Don't get me wrong. I love drag shows. Like, God knows I've been to so many, and I love my queens. Oh my God. I feel like too much makeup makes me look older.
Let's go back.
And that I don't like.
Let's go back to the subject of season 7 and you as the director. How did that opportunity come up, and how challenging was it? How was that on set?
So the opportunity came up when they said, do you want to do season 7? I said, well, it depends. I want to direct. So,
great.
I'll do season 7 if I get opportunities to direct. I had 2 episodes in season 8 that never happened that I was supposed to direct. And 1 episode in season 7 that they wanted to see what I was capable of. And so I really studied directing right beforehand because it's imperative to know what you're doing. But then so much of it was already in me from being, in this industry now. Like 23 years I've been acting, and even longer than that because I've been in classes since I was 12. So directing for me sort of came naturally, and the studying process was something I really enjoyed. looking at movies differently and like learning about shots and how to set up your shots. And Steve Perlman was one of our executive producers, and he couldn't have been more generous and giving to me. I mean, he was so available for me. I adore him, and I'm grateful to him. He's had my back for a long time now, and he was there. He would show up on Saturdays, and he would be my stand-in. I'm like, okay, so he's gonna be tied up against this post. Steve would it's like, okay. And I'm like, okay, you're gonna stand, and then I'm gonna go over here with the camera, and I'm gonna take this shot. And he's like, what about from this angle? I was like, oh yeah, that's a good one too. So he mentored me in a really beautiful way, and we had so much fun, and working with my crew, and working with the DP and the art department, and creating the gingerbread house. And my vision, you know, the gingerbread house didn't really look the way I wanted it to look. And they said, Lana, we need like 3 weeks to do what you're envisioning. And we didn't have that. You know, we are on a broadcast network television show, you don't have that time. Now, if you're Game of Thrones, you have that time.
I see there's a time coming up several times.
But what they were able to do, they said, you know, what I wanted for the gingerbread house, I wanted layers peeling, and they said, that takes layers of paint, waiting it to dry, then doing a process where it peels, and then blowing over it. And I was like, why can't we do that? They're like, that's like 3 weeks of work. And I said, okay, so what can we do instead? So we had to manipulate it with, you know, a lot of spray paint. I totally spray painted. I was spray painting candy and in there with spray paint cans, which was so fun for me. It brought out, like, you know, the street girl who liked to, you know, like graffiti. So it was really fun, and I can tell you, my crew, because, you know, I was so loved by my crew, they wanted me to win. So they were like really, really attentive and available, and just like, we're in this together, let's do this. Adam and Eddie flew up to, I think it was day 2 or 3 of my episode, and they said, we're here for 3 days. And I said, okay, it's cool, you wanna look over my shoulder? No pressure. That's all right. They left that evening. They said, this is your set. You don't need us here.
I'm sure this is something.
That was extremely validating, so, yeah.
I'm sure this is something you want to keep on doing, right?
Yes, I would like to. It's proven to be quite difficult on some levels, but it's all right. I won't give up.
So I'm just going to tell everyone in the audience that if you want to ask questions, you can now start going to the line, to the mic in the center, because we're going to open the questions to the audience right in a few minutes.
Just a few, I'm seeing.
Oh, sim. That's great. Portanto, quem quiser fazer perguntas, já perceberam, é só começar a formar ali fila com distanciamento de segurança. E nós vamos já abrir aqui o painel também às vossas perguntas.
So we have 3 different lines, right? So if the middle one gets too, if you're
yeah, there are
like,
2 lines.
There's a lot of
lines,
go
I'm sorry.
over to the right or go over to the left, and you could see which line is shorter, so you make sure that you get your questions in.
I guess we're not going to wait anymore. We're going to open this to the audience.
Yeah, let you guys figure it out. We could start because there's a lot of people.
Yeah, let's do it.
You start maybe like this.
Sure, let's do that. So
100 years ago, probably 15 years ago, I lived in Granada for like 5 years or 5 months. And this kind of reminds me a little bit of Granada, which was and is still a very special place for me. Some of the best months of my life I've spent there. So, you know, being here kind of brings that feeling back, and it's really healing and beautiful. So thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy to meet all of you who championed for me to come, and if it weren't for you all, I wouldn't be here today. So thank you for signing this petition I heard about today. true love, you know? And it comes in so many different forms, doesn't it? So thank you. I love you all. I don't know how to say I love you all.
Eu adoro-vos, eu adoro-vos.
Eu adoro.
Adoro-vos.
Adoro-vos.